On today's episode of Secrets to Scaling Your E-commerce Brand, I got a chance to chat with Ramiro Velasco from Go Events. We had such a good conversation all about what it is like to enter Mexico, to enter Central America, South America, all of these emerging markets that can actually be absolutely phenomenal. We actually talked about what the true opportunity really looks like. We talked about the logistics of what it actually takes to enter, and actually on Amazon in particular, how easy it is to rank for certain products because there's just very little competition. You guys aren't going to want to miss this one. Hey guys, Jordan West back with another episode of Secrets to Scaling Your E-commerce Brand. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. This is one of those ones we've already had an awesome conversation to start. And it was just like, hey, let's just press record. I think there's going to be some really good stuff that comes out of this conversation today. And we're going to be talking a little bit of business, a little bit of life, how we balance all of this stuff together. And I think you guys are really going to get a lot out of this one today. I know that I'm just looking forward to having this. So without further ado, Ramiro Velasco, welcome to Secrets to Scaling Your E-commerce Brand.
Hey, Jordan, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, we were vibing right before you clicked record, so we can just keep doing that. Quite happy.
I mean, hopefully it keeps going. You know, that's always the hope. You know, it's like, hey, we press record, so this is good. I don't think today's going to be any different. So looking forward to this.
Awesome.
Ramiro, for people who don't know anything about you or anything that you do, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and a little bit of your background.
All right, so I'm going to go back all the way to 1999. Well, I'm Ramiro Velasco. Jordan, thank you for introducing me. I'm an engineer turned marketing person. I somehow ended up in engineering school thinking that was life for me. It wasn't at all. And just, I was making music. I was doing all these other things. And suddenly it was time to get a job. Suddenly I was like, all right, it's time to grow up. So I just applied places. Right? Close your eyes. You just start shooting. Like a lot of these people have these plans that are like, I want to be here. I didn't. I just went, all right, let's get a job. And eventually I ended up doing marketing, right, for an Amazon agency. And it just really vibed with me. So it's a mix of being creative and being like an interesting problem solver, and also downloading Excel sheets, which I think I'm pretty good at. So it was.
So I just want to stop you right there. We're going to get back into a bit of your history here, but I just want to touch on something that I think is really interesting. In my network of entrepreneurs and marketers, I would probably say 90% are musicians.
Really?
Yes, I can think of like my business partner, Sean. If anyone, Sean's always kind of in the background. Sean is like one of the most phenomenal metal drummers out there. Like just phenomenal. I'm thinking about my friends, like one of my good buddies owns this drum lesson company, one of the biggest ones in the world called Drumeo. Actually, probably the biggest one in the world called Drumeo. And then a bunch of other things. But like we're all hardcore musicians who also, and like, I'm sure nobody even on here knows, and please don't search, but like, I actually released 4 albums.
Oh, wow.
As like a singer-songwriter years ago. It's just the weirdest thing, this combination between entrepreneurs, marketing-centric entrepreneurs, and being a musician. I don't know what it is. I don't know where the connection is, but there's an insane connection between it. So anyway, just as you were saying that, I'm like, I just want to dive into this. I don't really have a point. But it's just interesting.
You're blowing my mind though, because like someone just brought this up yesterday. Like I think it was, I used to never mention like I make music in my free time. So I mentioned it, offline, and someone went like in this business space, and they went, oh my God, I have a background in music as well. And I was like, and they said everyone, like that, most people that I speak to have a background in music as well, like in this space. And I was like, that sounds cool. I can't verify because this is the first time I'm talking about it. You're the second person that's bringing this up. Like, this is amazing. Like, I have no choice but to believe it. Which is, really interesting.
Continue.
Yeah, because I do want to dig down that rabbit hole, right? So we can talk about that in a bit. But I sort of started doing this and really enjoyed it. This combination of, hey, like ads, spend, CPC, like these things, but also looking at the products and being like, hey, this doesn't seem right. Like, hey, this isn't converting. Hey, this image is ugly. Like, so it's a nice mix of both. And eventually I said, let's start an agency in Mexico. And I tried, and I had a bad experience where...
Was this more on the Amazon side of things that you were...
Mostly on the Amazon side of things. In Mexico, we generally are dealing with 2 to 3. Right now we're up to 4 marketplaces, right? So, but covering things. And I was like, let's do it. Let's do an agency. Like, this is what I'm good at. And it's just such a different vibe. Like, they just didn't like us here, like agencies. It's like, nah, why am I paying you? I can pay someone in-house. I'm like, because you've been paying someone in-house and you have terrible results. What can I tell you? You know? And it was just enough of these bad experiences where I was like, wait, there's actually a better market. So then I started doing what I'm doing now, which, you know, we can get into later, but it's basically bringing foreign brands into Mexico and Latin America. But yeah, it was such a happenstance sort of. I guess I need a job, and then I was like, wait, I really like this, and then it was, wait, I'm enjoying this. So let's just keep digging down the same hole, and just
Yeah.
making progress. And at every step of the way, you feel like you're faking it, right? I think at
Oh,
every step of the
of
way,
course.
you go,
I think we all feel that, right? Like no matter what. It's funny. People will get on calls with me sometimes and think I have all the answers. And I'm like, I'm just going to make this up at the exact same time as you and I are doing this together. Like,
yeah,
like with all of us, like, do you think that like the first time, like, think about the amount of companies out there that need to raise capital. Does anyone know how to do that from birth?
no,
No. How would we know how to do that? You just like have to YouTube stuff and we just figure it out.
it's
Like
crazy.
buying a
It's
company, selling a company, entering a new market. It's like you just need to figure this out together with people, right?
Yeah. And I think I was, you know, the entire time that I was in the agency, I kept saying like, listen, man, like I can't promise you anything. Anyone that's promised you things like is lying to you. What I
Yeah.
am, like, I can help you like have the best path, like statistically the best path forward, right? Where I can, my job is to make decisions to sort of set us up like the best we can, but it's all
Yeah.
percentage points. It's all, you know, coin flips that we just are
Totally.
weighing towards ourselves.
Yeah. And
And
I
people
wanna
that
I
are,
wanna
yeah,
step in there for a sec on the agency side because I think that's an interesting conversation. So we, one of the companies that I still own is an agency.
yeah,
And it's funny because within this week, hopefully by tomorrow, I'm gonna have a nice new neon sign behind me that
oh
says agency
yeah,
suck. And I think that it's true. Most people out there hate agencies
yeah,
because they're not upfront with them, because they promise things, because they don't set realistic expectations. And
yeah,
people think like, oh, I'm going to hire an agency that's just going to transform my business. Like, no, not if you have a bad business. There's just no amount of marketing or no agency that's going to do that for you. And that's
yeah.
why why it's going to be my tagline for the next long time is that agencies suck. But at the
Yeah.
same time, there are incredible agencies out there, right? You just need to figure out who to work with on that side and how to actually get those trust measurements out of them
Yeah,
somehow, right? Like I think that's the biggest thing.
for sure. And establishing like, look, realistically, like really good agencies may really suck for some clients just because they're just not a good fit, right? Like, and
Totally.
this is going to consistently happen. It doesn't speak badly about anyone where it's like,
No,
actually, no, we get results for, let's call it 85% of clients. If you're getting results for 85% of clients, that's amazing. Like
that's
you're crushing. That means you can sell like anything to anyone, right? But
yeah,
sometimes it's like, hey, I need these types of different insight. And you go, okay, well, that's not what we're good at. Like, it's just so important to understand that rather than this being a contentious relationship of I'm trying to get your money and I'm trying to get you to grow my stuff, it's like, hey, man, we're on the same side. Can we
totally.
work
We're an
together?
extension of the team,
Yeah.
right?
Can we
We're
work
not yeah,
together?
absolutely. That like back and forth like that, right? Like when there's the like that animosity between agency and brand, like that will never go well. So if you
Never.
come into those relationships like that and you don't come in open and vulnerable to the agency and then agency owners, about 30% of the people that listen to this podcast, it's funny, I'm pretty sure I change that number all the time. And everyone's like, wait, you said 40% last week. Anyway, I think
Yeah.
around it's hard to tell. It's hard to get
Yeah.
podcast stats, people. Okay. That's my issue. I think around 30% of people that listen to this are agency owners and know that it's the same thing, right? Coming in really open, vulnerable, letting people know what you can and can't do. It's really important.
So
It gives
important.
people so much confidence in you, you know? But even if you told them, yeah, I probably can't do this.
Like literally a lot of the work is like, hey, all right, this isn't viable. Like if someone's promising you this, go to them. Like if someone's promising you this and you think you can get that, go to them. I've
Yeah.
been around for long enough to tell you I can't do that. And
Yeah.
and brands will appreciate that because then they'll be like, all right, so what can we do?
Yeah.
And you go,
Yeah.
it's all about that. It's all about like, look, I think we've all been, you're also a musician. I think we've all been bad clients,
Oh,
right?
I've been a very bad client to
Oh,
agencies over the years. I'm the
I've been,
worst client. If I come to you and you do something I don't do, I'm the worst client ever.
yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, I've been a bad client, like, for studios where I went to record, but, like, I didn't know what I wanted, and no one
mm,
was there to guide me, so, you know, I went 6 studio sessions deep before going, we're not getting anywhere. Like, bro, just keep the money. Like, I'm just gonna, and that's where I learned to produce because I was like, I got to figure out my stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in whatever market we're in, I think we all know what it's like to be a bad client, and if we can sort of put ourselves in those shoes, we can be like, all right, this is what I needed. This is what I needed back then. This is probably what my clients need right now,
This is
right?
actually brilliant, Ramiro. Like I'm thinking about this and like because empathy is everything, right? And we
Yeah,
we were talking about this on a one of my company's team calls this morning, and how empathy is one of those things I think is not very trainable. It's
no,
very difficult to train somebody in
yeah,
a level of empathy, but to try, but so whoever it is on your team, make sure that they're the ones that are reaching out and actually trying to like get in the head of what the other person needs. And so when you say, now, oh, I'd be such a better client, it's because you actually understand their side.
yeah,
Actually been in their shoes. You didn't just
yeah,
try to put yourself in their shoes. You were actually in their shoes.
yeah.
And
I
that's really
mean,
important.
you know where we can see this? Anyone that's ever worked in the service industry is a really good tipper.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Always,
What a great
always,
example.
always.
Yeah.
And you see people that just think it's an easy job. They go like, "What? Why would I give a good tip? Like all he did was bring my food." And it's like, my guy, you have no idea like what that's like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I
Yeah. You
think
just
yeah,
saw the tip of the iceberg. Ramiro, let's get a little bit into Mexico,
sure.
South America or Central America. Sorry. Why?
Uh,
Brands enter. Like I never even think about. So I'm
for
Canadian, by the
sure.
way, just so you know.
Awesome.
Before I say I don't
Well,
ever think about Mexico or Central America, no, I'm a Canadian. Okay.
we've got a great big few hundred million people between us.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I would
Uh,
probably say I'd probably say Canadians that were even culturally a little bit more similar.
yeah,
Like
yeah, I
that.
think so. I think so too.
I have
I've
I have
please
hard times with Americans sometimes.
a
Where I'm
little
like,
bit, a little
man,
bit.
we do not have aligned values whatsoever, and that's okay. That's okay.
I think, yeah, for sure. I mean, oh, this is something that I love. And like, again, like I don't want to say any, no one's right or wrong, right? But it does feel like perhaps Canada and Mexico have a little bit less individualism in our blood in the sense that we understand our reliance on community, right?
Totally.
And this is something that I'm very passionate about. And it's not, it's not a dig because you know what? Sometimes I wish I was a lot more individualistic with a lot of these things because there's a certain like belief in yourself that comes that makes so many great American entrepreneurs that they go, I can do this.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think probably Canadians or Mexicans are more likely to go like, can I do this? Like, you
Yeah.
know, there's,
My first question is, who can do this? Right? I
I
look
think,
at something and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I know I can't do it, but who can I get in my life, or who in my network do I already have, and how can I create these
yeah,
connections? And I think that's a lot easier for us culturally to do, right? Is because
yeah,
and probably even more so in Mexico, like comparatively to Canada, we're a little bit more individualistic, but we still have incredible networks. And I mean,
yeah,
we're a pretty socialist society here too,
yeah,
right? Where it's like we pay a lot of taxes, we
yeah.
pool so that we all have a good life. It's
I,
just a different mentality.
I've only been to Canada once, and I don't know how much you will like where I don't know what part of Canada you're from, but I went to Montreal and I had an amazing time, and I thought
Huh?
Montreal was beautiful. I went to my
Montreal's
sister's grad.
gorgeous. I'm a Vancouver guy, so I'm in
Oh,
like the most beautiful place in the world,
oh,
but
I get
Montreal's
it. I
okay.
totally get it. I went for
So
my sister's
let's
graduation. I had an amazing time. Tim Hortons is probably the best breakfast I've had ever. So there you
Oh,
go.
okay,
I'll put it
okay.
down. I'll throw it down. Yeah, I'll say that. I'm good with saying that. But yeah, so
So
why
yeah,
Mexico? I think
why
why Latin
Mexico?
America? I
Yeah.
mean, look, there's so many factors, and I think this is where I can get a little bit more serious, right? There's so many geopolitical factors, just macroeconomic factors that are leading to what is looking like, at least the gamble that we're taking, is that we're looking at an economic boom over the next 10 years. The
How
pandemic,
come? Why?
the there's so much. So the pandemic changed the way a lot of things are just, it questioned the way a lot of things are done, and it changed a lot of the way things are done. So we have nearshoring opportunities. We have foreign investment changes here in Mexico, where, for example, Mexico during the pandemic went from the 14th most highest foreign investment, gross foreign investment, to the ninth country with most foreign investment, right? So there's a lot of things
Wow.
happening and being done right that are kind of showing that foreign companies are looking at Mexico and the rest of Latin America. Really, you have remote work flooding dollars into markets that are generally
So
traditional
I
workers.
personally know multiple Canadians that have decided to move to Mexico.
There you go.
that,
That's also
especially during
happening.
the pandemic. They were,
Like,
these are more like the kind of like fairly right leaning Canadians that are just like, we can't do this anymore. We can't. And I understand it's Canada's becoming a bit of a communist state, but I still love it.
I mean, so is
But lots of
Mexico
them
though. So
moving out.
they're going to be surprised a little bit. Mexico's moving a little bit further that way. Yeah. So they might run into a little bit of the same. But we have things like nearshoring, right? Like every brand
Oh,
had shipments stuck for a month or two, right?
yeah.
Coming into
Yeah.
California, like where the shipment's right there. I can see the boat. And they're like, yeah, but we don't have an appointment for 2 months. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
brands went through that. So they went, hey, there's a huge land border with Mexico. Why don't we do that one instead? Affordable manufacturing, like affordable shipping, affordable manufacturing, less lead times, like all these things. So that's another factor, right? And on top of that, we have 700 million people that are slowly being digitized. So when I came back to
Is that
Mexico,
how
so
many
I'm
people
Mexican.
it is between Central and
Yeah.
Mexico?
From northern border of Mexico to the southern tip of Argentina is about 700 million people.
Oh yeah, including
Yeah.
so. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's right. I like throw Brazil in there too. Like big, huge
Exactly.
economy.
Exactly. So what we're seeing is, 7 years ago when I came back to Mexico, it was like the general sentiment was, hey, how do you order on Mercado Libre? Back then, Amazon wasn't even a blip. It's like, how do you order on Mercado Libre? Like, and does it get to your house? And how do you pay? And there's a lot of distrust. And over the past 7 years, and to where, and over the next 10 years, I'm hoping, right? Because this is the gamble I'm making.
Yeah.
We're having 700 million people be digitized in their shopping habits. So now it's part of a growing pie. And fundamentally, something that you learn, I have a really eclectic background. I traded for a living for about 3 years. I'm not a big fan. I'm not proud of it, but I happen to be good at it. So I did that for a while.
Ramiro, you
Um,
you are an enigma. You do
Yeah.
not look like a trader. Like so.
I was doing it from my house, and it was nice. And it was back then, it was an inefficient market and it was a lot of opportunity. But something you learn is you always want to be part of a growing pie. When when the pie is growing, there's bits for everyone. When the
Yeah.
pie is shrinking, like during a bear market trading, during, maybe like post-pandemic Amazon, like suddenly you're fighting over the same eyes rather than the new eyes. And this gets a lot harder. So what we're seeing, we're looking at this panorama. We see Amazon growing 30%, 19 to 20, then again 20 to 21, and then 21 to 22, 140% in traffic. Like we're like, wait, this isn't slowing down. This is not so. If I have to summarize it, look, we're looking at Amazon US 7-8 years ago, right? Like this is the time to get an 18,000 review garlic crusher, right? And just dominate. You know what I mean? And just
and crush your competition.
and crush your competition. You went there. Oh, that was good. Oh no.
So why like okay, so let me just ask some questions, some
Totally.
dumb questions here, okay? So when I think of Mexico, I think super low GDP. They don't have money to spend, right? So just I don't actually think that.
That's no, but look,
I'm just more
we
thinking
call it.
more. People think of Mexico and they're like, oh, it's just poor. No one's buying anything down there. They're just surviving. Tell me,
This
I'm
is a
wrong.
great question. Okay, yes, the way we say it is it's lower purchasing power economy, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: just Mexico is 120 million people. It's 124 million people, right?
Yes.
Thereabouts. What you have is a tremendously high income inequality country. So
Gotcha.
Mexico, when you look at GDP numbers, when you look at when you look at any statistic, you're like, wait, Mexico's kind of low key, really well off. Like there's a lot of money in Mexico. It's just not very well distributed, right? So what you have
Gotcha.
is you have you have a middle class and upper middle class, and of course the upper classes with infinite spending power, right? And that you can call it the famous, it's a 1%. That's really who you can go after when you're talking luxury brands. Now, what you will see.
How big is this group? Like what is this income disparity? Because I'm thinking Canada, right? We're 35 million people.
Yeah.
Right. For me, maybe 30% of those people will buy middle to high end goods. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Like in Canada. Because we're we do not have the kind of purchasing power like they have in the States. Not even close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're even a little bit tougher in Mexico because we're a cash-based economy, right? So
gotcha.
Credit card buying isn't really that big a thing. I mean, it is obviously but compared to 10 years ago, but compared to the US, where you just kind of accept that you're going to go into debt and swipe your card. Like we don't have that yet here, right?
Okay.
What we do is, and we've done this for 25 years, is payment plans where you swipe your credit card and every month they take, what's just
Oh,
now
okay.
becoming popular in the US. So that's
Yeah.
actually allowing us to solve this cash flow issue. And I think this was very visionary on Mercado Libre's part when they said, wait, the reason people aren't buying with us is because payment's a little bit of an issue, whether I'm cash only or whether, I'd rather pay in monthly installments or whether I don't trust the system to give it my card. So they came up with interesting solutions. Like you can go to the corner shop and pay for your Amazon order there. And they can take, like you can swipe your card there and they can take the monthly installments and things like that. So it's opening up and it's bringing more people in. As far as the purchasing power itself, I would generally think we underestimate it severely from the outside in. Even myself, like I've been in this market, I've lived back in Mexico for 7 years. I've been selling in this market for almost as long. And I still look at products and go, I'm probably going to have a hard time selling that at that price point. And then it
Yeah.
sells. And I'm like, all right, there we go. Like we just got to make sure we're offering the right, amenities for the payments. And it doesn't seem to be an issue at all.
So you've got really inexpensive manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just that. It's not, and sorry, when I say really inexpensive, I mean, it's not like Bangladesh, but like
No,
you've got fairly inexpensive manufacturing and not just that though, you've got it in a place that's very easy to get to, right? Comparatively, there's no water. I think that's one of the big things. And I've been chatting with a couple of friends of mine who have like shoe companies and then we're in apparel, right? And it's just like, well, doesn't Mexico just make the most sense? Like, I don't want to deal with all of this freight, over the water.
And I mean, you're going to pay the same tariffs anyway, because, apparel is protected, right? So you're still paying tariffs on the weight, but you're paying those tariffs regardless of where it comes from. So,
totally. Well, but then we've also got NAFTA too, right? Like Mexico and Canada still have a great relationship with a lot of this stuff where we can actually bring it in duty free. So
yeah, if we're proving a certificate of origin, it actually, it's like, sure, come and bring it in, which is beautiful because it just gets that much easier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, look, we all have a set amount of hours in a day. We're all super busy. If I can find someone to fix these problems for me, like they'll do it. Like I'll do it. So if I can find someone, there's a ton of businesses right now doing sourcing in Mexico where they'll go like, look, I wish I could manufacture in Mexico. I don't know if I could have the headspace to look for it. I got you. What are you making? All right, let me send you samples and I'll do the whole thing here. And that's another boom that's coming, right? Wow. Mexican Alibaba, that's another boom that's hopefully going to come whenever it gets here. So the whole idea is what we do, look, we know we sell an unproven market. We know that it's a big, not even a risk because of our structure and whatever, but we know that it's like, look, I don't know if I'm going to sell in Mexico. So we actually have to take the stance of, then don't worry about it. Then let me just do everything. Because look, in 5 years, when this thing is actually super established, I'm going to be charging like crazy to get you in. Right now, I understand that I don't have the social proof of the country as a whole.
Yeah.
So we'll lower those barriers to entry. We'll lay the groundwork, hopefully help the market grow. Like that's ultimately our goal. And as it grows, then we grow with it.
Well, and you get to be positioned as one of the first movers too, right?
Exactly.
That's a huge, there's a massive advantage to being that.
We actually
being known for that.
We were in, I'm not going to say what exact space, but a handcraft space, like a specific handcraft space.
Okay.
We noticed that every single competitor was either sent from China or doing remote fulfillment from the US. We came in like 15% more expensive and got to rank 2 within like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Just by being in country. Like it's ridiculous. Like we're consistently seen as a secondary market, which look by volume we are. But the opportunity is so massively there that I think everyone should at least be going, is this viable?
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some good like product categories that you're seeing that there's just a lot of opportunity for specifically in Mexico?
Oh, I love this question. Look, we've been going we first started digging some of the restricted categories because they're a little bit harder and they're not on NARF. So it was easier to once we figured out the approvals process, your electronics, your supplements, your cosmetics, all of this stuff that's a little bit harder to get in. we figured out how to get in, and that was really a big boost for us. We had to be really strategic about this for launch. Now, as far as for general consumer shopping, we all sort of intuitively know this from our experience in early Amazon, which is the first thing you start looking for is generic goods. Like I'm not really going in and going ham looking for a brand, or I'm looking for a solution to a problem. It's very tough to go like for your average consumer in these early markets to go in and say sports drink because I need to be hydrated. Either they're going for, because this is the problem. Either they're going for a specific brand or they're buying it in a shop. However, very generic goods like garlic crusher, like,
Yeah.
things that are pet toys, like
Yeah.
anything that I don't really care who's selling it. That's where we're seeing a huge boom right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and ultimately it comes from shopper behavior over time. Hopefully over the next 2, 3, 4 years, we'll see more of these problem-based searches once shopping on Amazon is just in our DNA. But
Totally.
right now, we're just going for like the quick, look, I don't want to leave my house.
Yeah.
Let me find something that will fix my problem right now.
Ramiro, I know you didn't want to have any sort of pitch or anything on here, but I'm just interested for brands that are listening to this and thinking, maybe I should like look into whether this is viable or not
Yeah.
to enter Mexico and Central America. Do you have some sort of way that like some sort of like viability test or something that you'll sit down with brands just to take a look?
Yeah. And actually, I'm going to start this by saying, I think, Jordan, you and I come from a very, like, we both have an agency background, right?
Yeah.
And something that I think we would both agree to is I would rather not have people be mad at me. Like it's very stressful to have people be mad at me. So
Yeah. I'm with you.
I almost like do anti-sales. Like honestly, I basically go in and when we get a person, I'm like, is there any reason this wouldn't work out? Because I don't want you later to send me like a great big long angry email. So we really need to make sure that the project makes sense for you, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of why our original sort of like the first couple of months went a little bit rough because I was turning away everyone like a fool.
You can't
But
turn everybody away.
I was in the wrong mindset. But what we do, and I have the hubris to have my calendar open. So if anyone wants to go to govance.com and just like look for me, well, just click contact us. The calendar there is my calendar. I don't know how sustainable that is. You and I both know what hugely filled calendars look like.
We were just talking about this at the beginning, like before we started recording. It's
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, yeah, you can do that for a little while.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to hold out. But yeah, basically what we recommend is come talk to us, man. Like just be like, hey, this is what I sell. And then this is my costs. And this is sort of like my general logistics setup. I go, okay, well, this is what the market looks like. This is what we can potentially sell. Are we okay with this price point? And we generally go maybe a little bit higher. We go, okay, how about this? All right, then yeah, we can make it work. And then here are the next steps. Or you know what? Yeah. Your product is classified as a medicine, so we can't bring it in. Okay, that's a sad time, right? But just ask, like, honestly, shoot us an email. Like we're here to help,
Yeah. Guys, we'll make sure to put that down in the show notes. Any of the links that we've talked about today, obviously, are all down in the show notes. So if this sounds interesting to you, again, this is not a pitch. Ramiro's not a sponsor or anything like that. This is just, I love bringing on all of these different voices in direct to consumer and e-com just to really figure out, like, where do we go from here? If there's a massive market like Mexico that's opening up and you think that your product could be good in there, work with an expert. Don't go do it yourself. I've made way too many mistakes going and doing it myself.
Listen, I did it myself and I regret it, but now I'm this far in.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah,
like,
you did it yourself and now you're doing it for others. So
yeah,
great.
like the absolute just gal to be like, well, I'm good at e-commerce. I'm going to pivot and I'm going to be a logistics company now, or, like
yeah.
What are you doing, man? Like someone should have stopped me, but it's too late now. Now we figured it out.
Ramiro, I got to ask you the question I ask everyone who comes on the podcast. What is your secret to scaling?
My secret to scaling, look, honestly, partner with the right people, be it for the company as like business partners but also partner with the right partners outside of your company. And really, man, you're looking to add value. Like, I think this is coming from a place where I'm not a salesman, and anyone that looks at me goes like, yeah, that guy doesn't sell things. I just want to make it worth for everyone, right? And people really appreciate that.
Totally they
So
do.
once you partner with the right people and you get to say like, all right, guys, our focus is bringing this value and we can all get on the same page. You separate responsibilities by the people that are good at what they do, right? Don't try to do everything yourself. And then just
Yeah.
focus on providing value. Our first couple of months of partnership introductions were literally just, hey man, I'm not here to sell you anything. I want to know you. I want to see where we sit in the space, and just figure out what we can bring to the absolutely massive e-commerce, sort of family. And people really took to that. So, and it's paying off. So it was nice.
Thank you so much for coming on today. This is an awesome conversation. I really, really enjoyed this. And I want to have more interviews like this where we, barely talk about business. This
See,
is the life, guys.
yeah. Yeah. Seriously, Jordan, honestly, thank you so much for having me. Like, I ran back home from the office because I was like, you know what? I want my studio set up. I want to have the nice sound. I want to have all these things. And I'm so glad that I did because I'm
I'm
a
really
home.
glad you did too. It
I'm,
it was just really good, crisp quality.
oh, thank you. I was so nervous. Like the whole time I've been looking over to see if I'm peaking. And I'm like, oh, please, please.
No, I haven't seen one yet.
Awesome. Beautiful. Oh,
Ramiro, where else can people connect with you? LinkedIn, Twitter, any of those
if
places?
y'all want to look, I stay away from traditional social media. I'm just bad at it. I wish I could. Like, it's been New Year's resolution 3-4 years in a row was let's use more social media. I can't. Anyone wants
Sounds like
to,
a great life.
yeah, yeah, except when you make music and you just suck at promoting it, right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
but no, LinkedIn I think is the best place to if you want to just stay in touch. Ramiro Velasco. And other than that, like again, anyone wants to email me. Like I ended up keeping the info at Go Advance email because that's just it's in my name now and I don't want to change it.
Okay.
So anyone wants to reach me, like I'm the most reachable person on like out here. So
Okay.
yeah,
Perfect. Well,
yeah.
Ramiro, thanks again so much for your time today.
Jordan, thank you so much.